streaming. We are online. We're gonna go here and update Twitter. Streaming now. Go here. Streaming. Okay. Do you have audio? Because it's not telling me if my audio is working. Okay, cool. So I forgot my monster, so I'm going to go get it. I'll be right back. All right, guys, here I am. Here I am. Okay, we're going to give people a sec to get here. I got a long spiel about the Harlem Renaissance for you, about this book I just got, which is really, 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 really cool, which I'm very excited about. Hope you are all having a fun Friday night. Except for those of you who don't deserve one. You know who you are. Oh, God. I can't believe Trump retweeted Carpe Donktum's video. My God, his meme. That was so hilarious. That was so hilarious. 49 people. God, that Dave Smith interview was so much fun. That was so much fun. Yeah. And next week I will be in Philly, which I cannot wait for. It's always good to have a fun little road trip, I think. I love doing that. I love taking the train, too. I think it's so old-timey, but in a good way. Huh. All right. It's so weird because the number of audience is so jumps all over the place, and it's not intuitive what causes it. 76, okay. Because last time it was like 600. And usually it takes much faster to get to 100 people. And I don't know what it is. And it's obviously, you know, I picked up what, how many, like 2,000 Twitter followers this week? Something like that. So, very curious. Very curious. All right. What else did I want to talk about besides this book? Nothing. I got a whole little spiel. Oh, that's right. It's true. It is Valentine's Day. So people are out. And the weather is nice. It was good today. It was fun to walk around. Okay, we got 100 people. We got 100 people, so I'm going to give you... Hey, Bradley. Thank you. Okay, so let me give you guys the whole spiel about this rare book I got. It's a nice little history lesson. So there's a word I'm not allowed to say. For the purposes of this live stream, whenever I'm supposed to say that word, should I display my sign, dear reader, next to or far from my sign, Tom Woods? On top of it? Come on. It's an easy question. That's really obvious. Right in front of it. Okay, so this is a long spiel. So as some of you guys know, or most of you know, I've been doing a deep dive. So there's a word I can't say. Whenever that word is said, I'm going to say glitter, okay? So I've been doing a deep dive on the Harlem Renaissance. And that's a term that some people are familiar with. Not that many people are familiar with what it actually was, including myself. It's presented, there's corporations, to sound like Bernie, have this idea. They like to take concepts from history or from culture, change it backward. I should block you for that. They like to take ideas from history, from culture, appropriate them, and basically sanitize them for like bourgeois sensibilities. And the Harlem Renaissance is one example of this. Like, as it is portrayed in, pop culture, it's this period in the 20s where there was all this great culture coming out of Harlem. And that is a very myopic and inaccurate view. In the same way that if you want to talk about, let's say, the hippies, you're going to have to talk a lot about STDs and violence and, disease and other things, like other kinds of disease and so on and so forth. So what I learned, and scholars, what I'm about to tell you is not really in dispute by scholars. This is as opposed to the, Pablum opinion that's being forced down people's throats, is it was in some ways definitely it was a scene. It was not at all localized in Harlem necessarily. There were lots of other people involved in this kind of movement. And a lot of times, whenever you have many talented people in a proximate location or trying to do the same thing, it becomes bigger than the individual parts. Another example of this, easy example, is the punk scene in New York in the mid to late 70s, where you had a lot of bands that were making amazing things, but the word punk to describe them all, because they all played at CBGBs, is really ineffective. Because Blondie's there, but there's also Talking Heads and Patti Smith. I mean, is she a punk? She's on the cover of Punk magazine. I like that, Bradley. She's on the cover of Punk magazine, but Patti Smith isn't a punk in the same sense of the Sex Pistols, which were obviously not a New York band. David Byrne, for fuck's sake, I mean, he's not I wouldn't call him a punk. So, and some of the other bands from that era, the Ramones clearly were. So the Harlem Renaissance got its start as a concept. It was not something that happened organically. I just read a book that was talking about Kafka, and the author quotes someone as saying, every artist makes their own predecessors, in the sense of, once someone comes along, that retroactively all of their influences can be viewed as one thing, even if before them they weren't really grouped together. And that's a really interesting way of looking at it. So the Harlem Renaissance was actually was synthetic. Alan Locke, who was an intellectual college professor, he put, as I said, in an earlier live stream, he put out a magazine called there was a magazine called Survey Graphic, and he was the guest editor of one issue in 1925, and it was called Harlem, Mecca of the New Negro, right? So it had poetry, and it had essays, and it had sketchings of people who lived in Harlem, and basically it was, we've arrived. This was not a magazine for predominantly black audience at all, but it was like, okay, this is something that's happening in America that people need to be aware of. So it was codified in that issue, which I have. I have a copy of it from 1925, which I'm very proud of. And again, he picked Harlem, but it was not really Harlem per se. It's not like CBGB's or Max's Kansas City, New York, where everyone is going there. Sure, lots of New Yorkers were going to Harlem, but there are lots of other black writers who were not New York based who were creating output. And what made it special? Why has Owen become anti-Semitic when his mom's Jew? I don't know. I can't speak on that. I can't speak on that. Right. Like the people think about the Apollo, the Harlem Renaissance was not really a performative thing. It was more of a literary thing. Okay? Okay. So, okay. I'm glad this is holding everyone's interest. Now, as a reaction to this issue of Survey Graphic. So Survey Graphic, The New Negro, Alan Locke, was a reaction to W.E.B. Du Bois and the idea that art by African American people or black people, I think there were many who were not African American, had to be political in nature and had to be about like the black experience. And then this came along, this issue, and said, no. We are talented. We are creating art. It does not have to be uplifting of the race, nor does it have to be about the race. It can be art just like white people make art. We're writing plays, we're writing poetry, we're writing books, and not everything has to be about the black question in America. The queen of the so now, there was someone called Jessie Redmond Fauset. Okay, I just finished reading one of her novels. She has 4 novels. One of her novels has a title which I adore, and I don't know why I adore it so much, but it's called There Is Confusion. I just think it's the funniest thing. Not funny, but like intriguing. Like, ooh, where's confusion? Confusion about what? I think it's such a great title. And I remember also it hits my funny bone because I was out once at a restaurant and the waiter made a mistake and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've made a confusion." And I'm like, "Oh, that's a real, I'm going to start saying it like that." So Jessie Redmond Fauset was the literary editor. And by the way, I'm not a scholar, so I'm sure some things I'm saying are a little wrong. Jessie Redmond Fauset was the literary editor of The Crisis, which was, and the NAACP, W.E.B. Du Bois's organization. It was their periodical, right? So she was called the midwife of the Harlem Renaissance because what she would do is she would mentor all these young writers and encourage them and so on and so forth. So I read her book Plum Bun, which is about passing. And passing is a concept that is extremely important in terms of the cultural experience of pretty much every minority group or even an economic minority group in America. It applies to Jews. You have the Jews who came over first, it's like from Western Europe, having contempt for the Eastern European Jews because they were passing in a cultural sense. You had, it's an issue very much with trans people. Should trans women try to pass? Is there anything wrong with them passing? With gays? Are you passing as straight? Is there anything wrong with not passing as straight? Heteronormativity. And with black people also, when people who are light-skinned could pass as white, are they betraying their race or should they do what they can and why do they have to wear their race on their sleeve? So there's so much going on with this concept across every different community to this day. And what I found, her novel wasn't particularly amazing. It's a love story. It's readable. I mean, for a book from the 1920s to be readable now, it says a lot. There were 2 things in there that really kind of blew my mind. Like, really blew my mind. Because she's talking about a girl in New York who is passing as white, who's black from Philadelphia. She moves to New York to pass. And there are a couple of scenes in there. And it's obvious that Jessie Redmond Fauset is writing this in the sense of giving people an example of what it's like to be black in New York. And there are these 2 things, because we're familiar with Jim Crow, we're familiar with segregation. We don't talk about racism in the North because it doesn't fit a narrative very easily. People talk about prejudice, like someone can't get hired for a job, but in terms of day-to-day life, it's not really discussed. Because again, the narrative is the South is bad, We're the North. We're good. So, ipso fatso. So, two things in this book really blew my mind. One scene, she's meeting with this friend of hers who's black at a restaurant. And she's running late. And she sees the girl outside the restaurant. And she's like, oh, why didn't you come in and get a table? And the girl matter-of-factly is like, oh, I didn't know if they would seat me. And you have to know, it's like this holy shit moment of like, this is New York in the 20s, and things we take for granted now, including black people take for granted now. The idea that like, every time you go into a restaurant then, in New York, you had to roll dice to see how they would treat you. And in fact, there was something called either the Green Book or the Blue Book. I think it's the Green Book. I'm 99% sure it's the Green Book. Yeah, the Green Book. It was, I mean, it's been around since 1936. What the Green Book was, it's a guidebook for black motorists. That's what it's called. And it tells you which hotels and restaurants they'll serve you. So imagine you have a car, you have a job, you're a respectable citizen, and still you have to like, oh, let's step at a restaurant. Hold on. Nope, we can't eat here. It's amazing how people who are so supposedly interested in fighting race today don't talk about things like this because they're so complicated. And it's so hard to point the finger at who the villain is. And it's also it's so sinister. And the other scene in the book, which really kind of blew my mind, was she's dating a white dude, of course, because that's got to be the plot. And there's a table full of a nice restaurant. So they're wealthy, the people at the restaurant. And there's a table full of black patrons elsewhere in the restaurant. He thinks she's racist or whatever. He's trying to impress her. He gets up, tells the waiter to kick them out. And this was an actual published book. It's called Plum Bun. This is the plot, I'm telling. By Jessie, Redmond, Fauset. I forget what year it came out, in the 20s. The guy that she's in love with, or is courting her, gets up, trying to impress her, tells the waiter that he's not going to be eating in a restaurant with black people, and the waiter tells them to leave, and they do it. And this is New York in the 20s, and it's like, holy shit. Like, I'm positive that in one sense, you know, this is a little bit propagandistic, but I'm sure this isn't science fiction. I'm sure this is, maybe this wouldn't be the case in every restaurant, but this is within the Overton window at the time. And it is just totally mind-blowing to know this and to think about this. It is just so, I mean, the things we take for granted. And again, I am just so sickened by people who are so into fighting racists and racism who don't know about this stuff and who aren't interested in this stuff because they're worried about today and their own narcissistic attempts of being quote-unquote good people. All right, so that's one thing. So just as that Survey Graphic magazine was a reaction to W.E.B. Du Bois, there was a reaction to Survey Graphic. There was a magazine, it was more like a zine, because it was self-produced, called Fire, with 2 or 3 exclamation points. Let me tell you, yeah, 2 exclamation points, Fire, it's called. And the cool thing about, this is from, let me tell you about, it was from when did this come out? It was in the 20s as well. This is all the 20s, the Harlem Renaissance. Fire came out in 1926. So Survey Graphic is 1925. Fire is in 1926. Here's what Fire was. There was a group of people who hung around Wallace Thurman. And I'm going to get to him in a minute. And they all hung out at his house on West 136th Street, which is gone now. it was like a boarding house. It wasn't like, whatever. And among them, they called themselves the Glitterati. You know what I'm really saying? They called themselves the Glitterati. And that house was called Glitterati Manor. And they were named themselves by the queen of the Harlem Renaissance, Zora Neale Hurston. She is one of the most interesting people ever. Ever, ever, ever. Her life story is absolutely fascinating. It's called Wrapped in Rainbows. It's amazing. She's written several novels, none of which I've read. One autobiography, which is largely fictionalized. And she studied under Franz Boas, or Boas, how it's pronounced, who's the father of cultural anthropology. And one of the big issues with Zora Neale Hurston is she was an academic. She went down to the Deep South. She's born in like very, very rural Florida. She went there to kind of interview people, and she wrote and recorded what they said in their vernacular with their thick, thick Southern poor black accents. And this was very controversial because it's like, oh, look what you're doing. You're caricaturing the race. She's like, no, these people are real. You're trying to make them invisible. I grew up with them. I'm from there. How dare you say that they're talking wrong? They're just talking differently. So this was, even then and now, it was a big controversy. Oh, we should have positive, uplifting representation. She's like, fuck you. These are real people. What are you talking about? So this was, again, and just recently, they rediscovered a book she created called Barracoon. It came out in 2017. I have that on my shelf. I haven't read it. So she called them the Glitterati as opposed to the Negrotarians, like Rotarian, meaning these like upper middle class, like trying to be respectable people. What's amazing about Zora Neale Hurston, and by the way, it's really kind of disgusting that libertarians are now trying to appropriate her for their own purposes, because in 1943, 3 libertarian women, Ayn Rand, Isabel Patterson, and Rose Wilder Lane, each published a book. The Fountainhead by Rand, God of the Machine by Isabel Patterson, and The Discovery of Freedom by Rose Wilder Lane. I think that's the Rose Wilder Lane one, right? Which I have. Rose Wilder Lane. Yeah, Discovery of Freedom. And 3 women, 1 year, 3 books on liberty. Zora Neale Hurston never wrote a political book. Zora Neale Hurston by 1943 was forgotten. But they're trying to shoehorn in. They're like, oh, it's 4 because we got a black lady here now. No. That's bullshit. That's a lie. And they call her libertarian because she was against basically trying to make force whites to appreciate black people, saying some things to the effect of, why, if someone doesn't like me, it's their loss not having the pleasure of my company. What's amazing about her, and why I find her so interesting, is in her lifetime, like her books went out of print, and so what happened with the Harlem Renaissance, I'm fast forwarding a little bit, come the Great Depression, 1929, all these people went in the trash can. White America no longer cared. It's like, and the same thing has happened to this day. When there's economic downturn, it's people of color who are the first ones fired. So back then it was even more extreme. It's like the Great Depression. All right, that's nice. Goodbye. We're not worrying about your little books anymore. In her lifetime, she fell into complete obscurity, and she died as a maid, and she was in an unmarked grave. She was completely forgotten. So I often think about what's it like for her to have been the queen of this scene in the 20s, and by the time you're dead, you're a maid, and no one knows you. I find figures like that fascinating. Dorothy Parker's another one. F. Scott Fitzgerald is another one. People who were so much a function of a certain time that when that time ends, what happens to them? Fitzgerald only became known way after he died. During his lifetime, he thought he died of failure. So, and he was so 1920s. In the 20s, by the 30s, the 20s were regarded as a joke or an embarrassment. Because it's like, okay, we had this big, coke orgy, and now we have the Great Depression, now we're being serious, and we have FDR. You could have your Warren Harding. So people like that who outlive their time, it's just this kind of existential thing that I find very interesting and I think a lot about. Okay, so as a reaction to Survey Graphic, Zora, Wallace Thurman, and a couple of others put out something called Fire. It was a zine. It had one issue, right? It was self-produced. And one of them was a poet named Richard Bruce Nugent. He was the last surviving member of the Harlem Renaissance. And after the issue of Fire came out as one issue, this was a very big deal because these were the young kids who were like, all right, you guys were trying to do one thing, we're taking to the next level. And they're much more edgy and they're much more kind of, they're the kid version. After that one issue of Fire came out, which did not do well, but which was a big deal culturally, there actually was a fire, and all the issues burnt, and it became a rare collectible until they reprinted it, I think, in the early 80s, early 90s, because one of the figures, Richard Bruce Nugent, he actually had his still left, so they reproduced it. And you could get a signed copy that he signed on eBay, this one for $200, whatever, which I kind of had my eye on, which I'm not going to get. The head of this, where they all met, was Wallace Thurman. And he is a very interesting figure that I'm going to do a lot more research on. He is the first black person to have a play on Broadway. His first book was called The Blacker the Berry. And it was all about race prejudice within black communities, how darker people have it rougher. His second book was called Children of the Spring. Was it Children of the Spring? Something of the Spring. What was it? Hold on a second. His second book was called Infants of the Spring, which was a satire of the Harlem Renaissance. I haven't read that yet. His last book was called The Intern. It was co-authored by a guy named A.L. Furman. The first two books deal with Harlem and the Harlem Renaissance. They're in print. They're known. This one, no one knows about because it's like a medical drama. Okay? And I saw a copy on... here's why I find him... this is the book. One second. Here it is. So there was a copy on eBay. This is from 1932. There was a copy on eBay for $100. And I'm like, all right, do I want to get this? Because I'm sure it's not going to be good. And then I want to thank Andrew Mackey from Australia, because he said, I'll chip in half if you get it. I'm like, all right, well, if you're chipping in half, then I have to get it. The person who sold it, their grandma had bought it. It's very rare. The only other copies are like $400, and a copy in the dust jacket is $6,000. And apparently not the protagonist's race is never mentioned. I haven't read it. Now, Wallace Thurman got married, and then like 6 months later got divorced because the wife said, "Glitter, you gay." So that whole scene in Glitterati Manor were all very gay. Richard Bruce Nugent, who I mentioned earlier, he painted Wallace Thurman's room with all this gay iconography. This was a thing back then. This is a big part of the Harlem Renaissance. So what I find interesting about this book, and he died of tuberculosis at age 31. So like Candy Darling and some of these other figures, Rubber Rodeo, the screenplay I wrote that never got produced yet, 32, excuse me. I am so haunted by people who are bright, talented, hardworking, have something to say, creative, do all the right things, and still die young with nothing to show for it. It fucks with my head something fierce. And he's one of them. So to die at 32, his third book is a forgotten. This is the last thing he created. This. And, it's kind of, this is his legacy. He ended on like a who cares note. It's very fucked up. Now, In fact, in his biography, there's one woman who wrote a biography of him. It was a thesis of hers from Holland, of all places, or something like that. The book, it's not even mentioned, really. It doesn't get its own chapter. This is how obscure this book is. It turns out it's often described as a commercial and critical failure, right? Well, I did some homework. It was not a failure because there's a sequel. The co-author of the book wrote a book called Consulting Specialist, which was a sequel to this from 1937. There's only 2 copies online. One's $400 fucking dollars, one's $260. I'm sure they're terrible. And he had earlier written a book. Then he did another book called Private Practice. And on the cover it says by co-author of The Intern. So this book has an interesting story behind it in and of itself that's been completely forgotten. And now I'm going to have it on my shelf for the rest of my life. And I'm really, really excited that I bought it. And this is like real deep dive hipster stuff. I've got another super rare book that's coming in the mail. I'll tell you guys in the stream. But that's the story of The Intern. That's the story of Wallace Thurman. I'm going to talk more about them as I learn more. But that's where we are. And I hope you enjoyed today's history lesson. And if you want to learn more about Zora Neale Hurston, as you all should, her biography is called Wrapped in Rainbows. And it is excellent. I think I read it in like 2 days. All right. Whew. I'm sure this book's going to be so awful. But it's so cool to have. This is his last thing, you know? And the guy who sold it on eBay, his grandma had bought it back in the day. So it did not go through many hands. I heard her books, Zora Neale Hurston's books, are not good. I heard they're absolutely just not good at all. All right. I guess we could chat for a bit more. Oh, one other thing I mentioned today during the when I went to the zoo to try to test out my gimbal, I'm not gonna, if there's any possibility of me working on North Korea, I'm not going to be discussing that or hinting at it publicly, as I'm sure you can understand. So I just want to make that kind of clear. Whew. Did you see Andy Warhol's Super Bowl ad? I did not. Although he would have loved that, I'm sure. I mean, I adore Warhol. And shout out to Christian. Stay in school and stay off the pipe. Happy birthday. That's sweet. No, I don't remember turning 9. What I do with like rare books is, oh, he's on this? I should watch my language. Make sure to go up to people and say glitter, Christian. They like that word. What I do with rare books is I'll take photos of every page with my iPod quickly and then read the photos. So I don't have to touch them. Are you all excited to have Kristen Tate on? Did the intern sell well in its time? It did not stay well in its time. Sell well, by all accounts. I'm not gonna... Bradley, I don't know if that's true, though. I think he does know his shit from Shinola. And there's children here. I'm not going to use bad language. It's his birthday, Bradley. Maybe it's so... I don't know. Turner, I have no further information. I literally just went down this rabbit hole the last 2 weeks when I saw this was on sale. So I find it fascinating that I've got this little clue. It must have sold decently. It could sell well, but not be considered a serious work. Do you know what I mean? If something sells well in the 20s, there's very few books that sold well in the 20s, even the bestsellers that we're still aware of today. Hey, Daddy. Oh, thank you. When am I getting my half of the book? Thank you, Andy. I don't know. You could take a picture. It'll last longer. Thank you so much, though. It's really appreciated. It smells nice, too. I like the smell. Getting Fox people on your welcome is a pain because you got to go through their second floor. It's a whole thing. It's more pain than it's worth. It's like asking them a favor, and it's just like I don't need this at all. Yeah. Yeah, the first person, if I was gonna get someone on, I mean, there's lots of other people I'd get on You're Welcome first, so. Before Cat. You should try to get Woods on Rogan. Why would I want to ruin my relationship with Joe Rogan? Doesn't make any sense. It's like saying you should bring McDonald's to Le Cirque. What? Why would I? I'm gonna fly for work twice over the next 2 weeks. I'd love book recommendations. I haven't read fiction in a long time because most fiction is terrible. Timothy, go to my Goodreads, sort it by rating, and take it from there. I enjoyed your Planned Parenthood burn. I got it, Warren, Darren, thank you. Let me talk about this. I consider myself pro-choice. Let's take, and look, I know it's very, very, abortion is the most Kathy Newman issue. Because as soon as someone says they're pro-choice, what pro-life people, some pro-life people hear is, you're okay with killing children. No, I'm not. At all. Not even a little. The ugly ones. The ones on the planes. You know what? I'm start to convince myself. Okay. Let's suppose, I know it's hard, for the sake of argument, you think Planned Parenthood provides Planned Parenthood, from their perspective, thinks they're providing health services to people. Doesn't it behoove them to really play nice so that people in rural areas have access to Planned Parenthood? Meaning those are the communities they should be fighting the hardest to maintain good relationships with, because those women, from their perspective, are most vulnerable. Yet everything out of there on their Twitter feed is like Jezebel, which is not only off-putting, beyond off-putting to rural areas, but even to suburbs. Well, which is it? Is it a human right, and you're trying to service women, and so on and so forth? Or are you a caricature that the right is saying, and you're validating them every second, the pro-life movement? It clearly looks like the latter to me. What the fuck are you talking about guns? You don't hear like WWF, the World Wildlife Fund talking about guns, because they're focused on animals, which has nothing to do with your politics. You could be a hunter and care about extinct animals, or you could be a Nazi or who started the Green Movement, or you could be a communist. They're like, no, we're focused on the animals. If you're worried about health services, as you call them, and abortion, why the fuck are you alienating gun owners? I just found out I'm coming to New York for 3/6. If I become a $20 patron this weekend, is that enough to qualify for a live Nightshade viewing? Sure. Of course, Grayson. Yes. I don't fucking get it. The Green Movement was started by Nazis. Yes, it came from the Nazis. There's a book called, was it Green Tyranny? It's on my Goodreads. And he just breaks it down. That's why the Green Party is prominent in Sweden and all these other places. It was basically, excuse me, is it called Green Tyranny? Yeah, Green Tyranny. Now, it doesn't make it invalid, but that is where its roots are. I mean, if you think about the Nazis, they were so big on the forest and all this kind of back to the earth nonsense. It's not a surprise. No. The communists were for pollution. Remember, the communists were for industry, factories and the working class as against the peasants. I just finished a book on Stalin's genocide with Ukraine. They wanted gigantic factories everywhere, electricity, power lines, smokestacks. That's their vision. It's super industrialized country because that's producing output and output and output. Not this back to the earth stuff. That's communism is going to pass that. Yeah, it's if you look at the North Korean uh, national seal, it's a power lines and a dam. This book I just read, oh, it fucked me up. It fucked me up bad. It fucked me up bad. It was by Anna Applebaum, and it's called Red Famine: Stalin's War in Ukraine. And it just talked about how they made this intentional famine and the consequences. And it was like, oh my god! And they were workers, did not include peasants. Okay, God. Yeah. So that book really fucked me up, and I'm going to talk about that in the future. It's no one of the people that the alt right likes is Pinochet. Another one that they like is Charles Lindbergh. And Lindbergh was like one of the first big conservationists in America. And it's not a contradiction at all. Oh God, Red Famine is gonna fuck you up. It'll fuck you up. It's a oof. That's an intense book. She's amazing. This is why I hate it when people attack the left as a whole. I mean, Anne Applebaum, I think she's got TDS, but her books, I mean, my God, they're as important and as good as in many ways Atlas Shrugged in terms of describing what these people are really like. And the thing with Anne Applebaum, it's not a fable. She has the receipts. She wrote Gulag, a history, and she also wrote that I read the crushing of Eastern Europe. I forgot what it was called, but I mean the Gulag book and this one. Ooh, this one really. It's. I'm gonna talk about this one in another stream. Um, about her Applebaum, Iron Curtain, yeah. Like, give me one of her, one Anne Applebaum, as opposed to 100 conservatives any day of the week. Yeah, my Goodreads is live, so you could see what I'm reading at any moment. I'm reading the In His Steps, the book where What Would Jesus Do came from, and a biography of Andy Kaufman, my hero, at the moment, and both are good in different ways. Whew. Is it fun for you guys when I tell you these little history lessons based on stuff I've gotten? Like show and tell? It's fun for me. I did not watch Trump's press conference, no. I was at the zoo. Okay. I guess it's fun. How do you read so many books so quickly? I don't know. I'm just a quick reader. I think Glenn Greenwald would win in a debate with Ben Shapiro. Gun to head if I had to choose. Because it's very hard to caricature Glenn Greenwald. Um, Blinkist. Yeah, Blinkist. That's what I do. I use Blinkist. Promo code Malice. Blinkist.com, promo code Malice. I wonder if Simon's in here too. Simon, if you're in here, blink twice. The Sour Patch Kids cereal's gone. I did buy 3 boxes of cereal today. I do talk about Shapiro in my forthcoming book, though. What Vox Day has to say about him. Simon's not here. He's got a job now at JERB. I saw NFL speak. Oh man, that is awesome. Ooh. I've had to up my macros because my lifts were dropping. So I'm being a Nazi with my food now. It's crazy. She's so good. I wonder how much a signed book of hers cost. Let's check it out. By the way, this is the sequel to The Intern. The cover looks so cool. Anne Applebaum signed. Let's find out. Can't be that much. What a weird name too. Sounds like Miss Krabappel signed. Oh, it's like 25 bucks, like nothing. Red Famine, 60 bucks. Okay, from Sweden. Interesting. Okay, so they're very affordable. Have you read The Collapse of the Third Republic? I have not. I've never even heard of it. Let me look it up. This stuff. No, I have not. Yeah, I did not tell you what book I ordered that's as evil as the Necronomicon, but I'm going to do a live stream when it arrives here. Probably be in a week from now. No, a week from now I'll be in Philly. So maybe in 2 weeks. No, this book is, it's not ironically evil. It is evil. It is really, really evil. A lot of people are making jokes on Twitter like, oh, Paula Deen. No. I was talking to Kevin Gutzman, and he's on DM, and he's just like, oof. He's like, I would be disturbed. Yeah. Thank you, Angel. You're not gonna guess it. Bill Buckley is not never even close to evil as evil as this book. It's not, you're not even in the ballpark, and it's not Hitler. All right. You're not gonna. What does "you're not gonna guess it" mean? Have you read Betrayal of the Right by Rothbard? I have. Have another mon. Well, thank you, Jay. It does say it's for anarchists here on the label. Thank you. I just broke. I'm over 2 body weight in deadlift now, so get on my level. And it looks like I might have Janae Marie Kroc on the show in June, which is going to be awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Is that a frowny face? You could get signed copies now of Dear Reader. I've got a new batch on the way right now. Do you have a favorite bat? That's a great question. Yeah, I like the ones with the big noses. Are they leaf nose bat, I think? Is that what they're called? Yeah, leaf nose bat. You probably haven't heard of it. Yeah, leaf nose bat is my favorite. I spent throw up a link. It shouldn't it, isn't it goodreads.com/Michael Malice? How do I throw the link up? I'm looking. Hold on. Let me go to it. It's under my name. It shouldn't be that hard. How do I link to my Goodreads though? Profile. Here, maybe this will do it. There's my Goodreads. Oof. Okay. Any. Let's see what I'm trying to figure out what we're gonna do in Philly. Maybe I'll just do one of these when I'm there, because the phone didn't seem to work too hot. Of course, I taught at a religious school. Why wouldn't I? I went to a religious school. I would love to go to BYU. Oh my God, that'd be so fun. That is so fun. I've never been to Utah, and I'm a big fan of John D. Fitzgerald's books, the Great Brain series. The Philly event is just a road trip with me and some people, and I'm trying to see how I can integrate troll strolls into it, or live streams. I figure it's fun if I go somewhere and you have my shitty commentary, but I don't know what the best way to do that, because I went to the zoo today and no one showed up in the live stream, but also the quality was unwatchable. I looked at it again. So I don't know. Maybe I'll use my phone just as a video camera and then upload the videos, but then I can't interact with people. So I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Or maybe I could just go and then do a stream when I come back telling about my trip, if that would be fun for people. There's got to be some way, though, I can stream if I'm going to, like, CPAC or something. Not that I'm going, but, like, I'll have to play around with the latency or whatever. Or the video quality. I'll have to figure it out. All right. Okay, guys. If there's nothing else, I am going to bounce. I will see you on. How would I do that though? Like take clips and show them during live stream? Yeah, anyway, I'll figure it out. We'll do something. I think even if I'm just chatting and showing pictures on like Insta in another window, that's fine. I think people will get the idea. Doesn't have to be no, but the video is so fun. It's so fun if someone's live and they're doing shit. Like with the Laura Loomer stuff. But I could just do it through Periscope, I guess. Huh. Fuck. Alright. Anyway, I'll figure it out. Big Frida Queen Diva. I was the first person on Earth to own Big Frida's autobiography because I got it straight from her editor. Don Jr. He doesn't call himself Don Jr. He calls himself Don. How crazy was that? Dude, how fucking crazy was that? Knowing that the president's laughing at my shit posts? Ugh. That's crazy. I felt like when I saw that notification, I felt like I was having a mental break. Because like it's like feeling like you're inside the computer now. It was like, what? What's happening now? I couldn't. I still can't. Yeah, now the couple of things is now I've had to announce my tweets in advance for a couple of trolls in advance a couple of times. I'm one step away. Zoo on internet does not mean seeing wild animal. Okay. I'm Morpheus. I'm not Neo. Because I'm the one who shows you guys the programming. Let's be clear. Let's be real clear. All right. I will. We made you to correct an error in the system. That's really funny. Yeah, Trump is so you're saying, you know, Trump is I forgot what I was gonna say. Ship hosting is so fun. I really do want to write like a 10-page not 10 like a $10 ebook, how to troll, and actually be smart about it. Like break down the typical. If I'm not watching a live stream with the White House in a few months, I'll be very disappointed. Well, good news, Turner. Get ready for be disappointed. I was thinking about writing a book. I've told you before about how to troll, TROL. And the way to do it smartly would be to break down the certain personality types that are perfect targets. So I've actually been running through the book in my mind. But we have to see first what happens with the new write on it's less than 3 months from today. That's going to be really, really cool. I cannot wait. The next recording session is March 8th. I'm intrigued, learning tons. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? I am 42. 42 years old. No, and also explaining to people how to be in the right frame of mind to start trolling. Because you need to have a certain personality type or a certain mindset. Do a Twitter walkthrough on trolling on YouTube. That might not be a bad idea. I'd rather do it as a book so it's permanent, you know what I mean? Not the YouTube videos are permanent, but it's I don't know, there's some heft to it. How old is Dave Smith? I don't know. Thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you all for the support. Dave's 38? I didn't realize that. Okay, that's pretty cool. I'm not a stoic at all. Do you still have that Ocean Pacific shirt? Do I still have the shirt I wore a week ago? Yeah. What? Jake Tapper. Yeah. Ooh. He thinks he's cute. I can be cute. I love you more. Okay. Um, Tom Woods and I also have some mischief planned, which is going to be lots of fun. Does technology solve people wanting to control others? No, that's biology. Why would that solve? Illustrated how to troll pamphlet. Illustrate? Why illustrated though? I mean, illustrated with examples. Will autographed copies of the book be available? Yes. My suit collection? You could just see it on Nightshade. You could just see it on Nightshade. God, there's this pair. Oh, never mind. It's a whole long story. But I did beat James Woods in that poll that Carpe Donktum put up on Twitter about who's the more savage troll. So, yeah. Ron Coleman is March 12th, I believe. He's the week after Tim Dillon. God, that'd be so funny. I don't read my DMs. So when you're have you seen the document on Netflix on the alt-right? No, and I'm not going to. I'm sure it's an abomination. Thank you, Jeremy. I have one vintage suit, which I am having the legs tapered right now. My DMs, it's 2 windows. I don't know if this is a verified thing or a listen, Mike, I have no filter. I just south things out as they come to mind. That's okay. I don't know if it's a verified thing, if everyone has this option, but in my DMs on Twitter, there's 2 mailboxes. One is like people you have interacted with before or verified. I don't remember. I'll tell you what it's called right now. One is inbox and one's requests. The requests, which is people I've never talked to, I don't see. I don't look at that. And it's a great way to fuck with haters because they think they're getting you directly, and it's just going into like an Insta garbage can. And it's really fun. I don't remember what I wore on Monday. What did I wear Monday? Let me open my file. Monday on Nightshade I wore... Oh, yeah. That was the same suit I wore when I was in the Rubin Report. All right. Oh, God, my leg's all itchy. It was an entire suit. And I also have now, thanks to you guys, that sounded sarcastic, but it's not. How many blazers though? Blazers or suits total? Just blazers? I'll tell you how many just blazers I have. Just blazers I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. 10s across the board. How many socks? 1 drawer full. I just went on a sock binge. You could look at my Instagram. I have an idea. I got an idea from... Yeah, I stole the idea from Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler from Aerosmith has this... What he does is he had a file so that whenever he went into a city, he wouldn't wear the same clothes for a concert so the fans would see something new. So since I have so many clothes, this is a good way to keep the rotation going. So I just keep them in. I just have a file. And it's easier to put together an outfit that way, too. I do have Red Room socks. Those are my Insta. I'm wearing Toronto socks right now. And they are itchy. They're a little nylon-y, I think, is what it is. It's not fun. Huh. I don't know who that is. All right, people. I think our work here... How many pairs of Uggs? 0. When I look at guests, I look at... Teach us how to escalate your trolls. Oh, that's a great question. Ooh, how would you escalate my trolls? Other than retweeting? Here's how not to escalate the trolls. If someone comes in and starts calling me an anti-Semite, don't educate them. Egg them on. Why, if someone is freaking out, frothing at the mouth, which is the whole point of trolling, are you calming them down? Get off the stage. You're not helping. So, escalating them would be... A lot of times people go too hard. Like, they'll be like, if the Hitler's thing, they'll be like, yeah, that's why Hitler was on the moon. It's like, no, someone... You just have to escalate a little bit. Like, someone did a brilliant one where I was talking about Hitler with the Berlin Wall, and someone attacked me, and someone else jumped in and goes, if he didn't build the Berlin Wall, why did he write a book about it? So if you ask like rhetorical questions that are doubling down the premise, that's a great way to escalate. That was perfect. If you want to push them further, how would I... That's such a good question. I haven't thought about it. I have not thought about it. That is a really good one. But you know, I don't know that I feel so comfortable giving marching orders. I think retweeting is just about enough. No, you know, here's an easy way. If someone's flipping out, just be something like, can you believe this? What's going on in Twitter nowadays? Shaking my head. As if you're cheering, as if you're agreeing with them. I should make this book. Even as simple as, what has it come to now that Trump's... Is this what we've come to now that Trump is president? Because people... Okay, when people fall for trolls, there's two types. There's people who are just... fell for it. Then there are people who are waiting for an argument. And they think that people are going to... Everyone's going to stand up and applaud. So if you get to be their audience, or ask them to clarify, you get to be their audience, and you're just like, you tell him, yeah, more. Don't let him off the hook that easy. Yeah. I really should write this book. That would be so much fun. And just sell it as an ebook. Sorry, Tom Woods. I'm not allowed to do a book until the new right is out anyway. Oh, that Warren? The fact that I'm such a hipster that I brought back Rickrolling, number one. And number two is, every single time I put it up, I laugh myself. When you're on TV, do you ever worry about saying something wrong? This is going to be part of my trolling book. And let me give you an example, because this was what I was working out in my head. Think of someone who you have no doubt is smart. If you're a Democrat, it's Obama. You have no doubt Obama is smart. Anyone who in your life. And let's suppose they're talking and they say something that's wrong and stupid. Like they say, oh, you know, I was in New York State's capital, New York City, blah, blah, blah. Are you going to think, man, this person's stupid? Or are you going to think, oh, this is a smart person who said a stupid thing, but they're probably mistaken? It's going to take a long time for you to think that this person's stupid. So if you say the wrong thing, it doesn't matter. And if someone is stupid and you like them, you're not going to care also. So I was worried about, this is what was really funny. Like the North Korea stuff. A lot of that shit is so technical precise that I thought they'd ask me and I wouldn't know, that I'd look like a real ass. It never got past 101. And if you're not sure about something, all you have to do is say, it's my understanding, or it seems to be the case. Hedge it. And it's fine. It's okay to say it like that. So, and if someone stumbles over their words, no one's going to care. So that's my advice. The trolling book might happen. I'm not kidding. I have a list of books I want to write. I got to figure out a way to put them out faster. Don Jr. here, and play cards Jimmy Woods and Dads. How to help out with your Twitter trolling. Put it in your book. Honestly, you know what helps me out? I'm not going to lie. This is what helps me out. The fact that I'm not wealthy. Right now, there's a pair of jeans on eBay that are $600, and I'm like, if I was rich, I'd get them even if I didn't like them. For me, I'm at the point where I'm like, that's a lot. First of all, it's crazy to pay for jeans, but they're from the 60s. They're vintage. So it's like a museum piece. I'd have to question myself whether to spend $600 here or there, right? The point is, I am in a position, thanks to the Super Chats and the Patreon and my shows, that I don't have to be scared on Twitter that I'm going to get fired and lose my livelihood. Because my job at Nightshade, at Compound Media, I have to be less abrasive and offensive than Anthony Cumia. I think we could do that, and that's no disrespect to Anthony. So it is because of your support, just like PBS, but it's the truth. If I did not have the support of my shows, this, and Patreon, I would really have to wonder. I'd have to live in fear, because any day a bunch of them can get together. Yeah, they're Levi's. Can get together, contact my employer, or leave a string of bad book reviews or something, and I'm fucked. Now I don't have to worry about that. And I have that freedom because of you. And that's why the trolling has reached the White House. So that is the helping out. Not having to look over my shoulder. It's true, though. Think about it. Listen, I'm Soviet. You don't have to tell me about living in fear. That's our default setting. But I'm living in fear to a point. I gotta tell you, it feels really, really, really good when people invest in you to be able to pay back that investment. Like when I did my Kickstarter for Dear Reader, who knew if the book was going to go anywhere, right? The fact that I'm on Glenn Beck, C-SPAN, Fox, Al Jazeera, talking about North Korea and educating people about the plight of these people, I was like, fuck yeah, these people paid money for the Kickstarter. They put their money where their mouth is. Oh, thank you, Angel. That's very sweet. Okay, $550, $509 to go. They chipped in for the Kickstarter. They did not need to do that. It's hard-earned money. And now, people who care about saving lives, if we're moving the needle a little bit, but we're doing it. So there is a return on investment. I think that's very ethically important. So the fact that now, thanks to you guys and the Patreon and all this other stuff, Don Jr. is seeing my tweets. I'm sure he's going to retweet me in the near future. Thank you. It's amazing. Holy yeah, well, as Rand would put it, value for value. The economics of Rourke are fucked up because Rourke's job is he would get one big check for a huge commission. It doesn't scale to like being a chef. If you're a chef, I don't know that you could do that. I support you because you add to my enjoyment of life. Thank you very much, Drew. That's very, very nice. Looking forward to meeting you at Nightshade taping Thursday. Oh, I won't be there. Security. This book's gonna be. Oh, I'm so excited by it. I'm so excited by it. But this is okay. Now I'm gonna rant. Now I'm gonna rant. People who bitch about social media censoring, which is valid, not gonna lie, they're ignoring the fact that we live, for the first time in history, we live in a time where you could be a professional troll. And thanks to $5 here and $5 there, it adds up and someone can pay the rent and be an entertainer in the broadest sense of the word on an individual level thanks to technology. This is unprecedented. And for everyone who's freaking out about Laura Loomer, correctly, and they should be freaking out, and it's disturbing, and I feel for her, and, you know, I talk to her, we text fairly regularly. For all of that, at the same time, there's opportunities like this. You're telling me in the 1940s, Harry Truman's daughter is going to know my trolling? They're going to know what trolling is? And now it's happening, only because of technology. It's so much easier to PayPal someone $5 than to write a check and mail it. So yeah, Laura Loomer got kicked off PayPal. The first troll, I talk about this and then you're right, is Andy Kaufman. I would consider the first troll. So yeah. I mean, I am so grateful every single fucking... I'm so grateful every day that I could do this. And I'm... What first name would you call yourself if you had a choice? I did. I don't understand. I'm sorry. If I had another one other than Michael, I don't know. I like being Michael. Your Welcome is on podcast apps. Already. Will Bill Krestol and friends endorse... Well, oh god. I sure hope so. God, he's horrible. The bubbling icon is the tip jar. When people tip, it makes a little money go in there, I guess. Chaos God. Yeah, that was really crazy seeing that. God, Weld. What a fucking piece of shit. What a complete piece of shit. Well, in Bill Weld's defense, he's more of a libertarian than Dave Smith. Thank you, Sakuraba. Oh, the Habsburg jaw. Isn't that funny? Yeah, thank you, Nicole. Yeah, but that's the whole point. It's so easy to support people. And the important thing is, everyone also has data. Is this support going somewhere? Is this person just taking money and they're writing a book that's never going to come out? Or are they producing the product and content? So it's a dynamic relationship. And it's obviously going to the moon at this level. God, that'd be funny if Dave actually became a Christian conservative because of memes. That'd be really funny. Oh, I'm not a monster. Is that right? The iPhone app ends in 99 cents? I didn't realize that. I was wondering about that. I have a chapter in the book called Meme Magic is Real. Leave Weld alone. He's a wonderful public servant. He's a human. Leave him alone. By the way, I have downloaded the new Avril Lavigne album. It came out today. Zero shame. My macros? I'll tell you my macros. I just had to up carbs. Yesterday, this week. 267 protein. Jennifer, I'm seeing your regular chat. What do you make of the Trump-Kim meeting worthwhile? I'm super excited about it. Are you kidding? This is amazing. It's an amazing opportunity. I've been talking about it a lot. 254. $48 fat. 48 fat. What advice would you give your college self? Stay the course. Your instincts are right. No, is that 354? It's 254, sorry. Yeah, I don't know that I would have any other advice. Than that. What advice would I give? Well, I'd give, like, buy Bitcoin. Yeah, I weigh 137. Why? Was that weird? How many calories is that? Can someone do the math? I am drinking the Kool-Aid. Tom, don't you have any questions? Tom Woods? I'm gonna close this. One second. They don't show me when people send it through Streamlabs, so I have to go through another window. Just gonna double check. I don't want to miss any questions. Will you get Yaron Brook on your welcome? I would love to. He's in the book as well. Saving them for an episode. Oh, that's true. Is 2,900 calories a lot? For my size? Can you get Joe Rogan on Tom Woods? Jessie, Juicy Smollett. Oh, God. Someone did send me a noose lapel pin, but I already had one. I don't think there is a promo code for Compound Media. I'm sorry. No, I don't know off the top of my head. Tom is just wonderful. So, wait, is 3,500 what I'm doing? I'm doing 20 calories times body weight. So that's what? Okay, so that's, I guess, that's close to what I'm doing. Promo code OP. Is it compound 20? Okay. 25. Okay. Compound 20. Thank you, Bradley. Yeah, I've been doing lean gains. I've been really, really crazy with the macros. It wouldn't be a disaster. It would be a debacle. Oof. Do you have any thoughts on Henry Rollins? I'm not that familiar with him. I like how he's unorthodox. Not a Black Flag fan at all. He likes Hubert Selby Jr., so that's good-ish. Yeah, I yeah. Why is YouTube blocking your super chats? You can go to do this though. Then here, it's easy. You could do this. I think that should do it also. I think isn't Henry Rollins like my size? Isn't he tiny? I think he is. Let me see. I think because I've seen him walking around the village once, and I'm like, oh, They say he's 5'9". I don't think so. Juicy's attackers are wearing blackface. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Trawling or trolling? I don't understand what you mean. God, my feet are cold. I wish I was wearing Heshy socks. Yeah, I have some Ethereum. What is this palaver? Let's talk about ego and hubris. It is so insane the price that it's gone up to, and I'm a rare book guy, as you guys obviously know. That's the premise of this stream, but like, I can't wrap my head around it. Although I understand price and supply and demand and price theory, but still, it's just like, what the hell? Shoot, let me fix this. Boom. God damn it. God dang it. There we go. The Krasenstein brothers, they're definitely not having sex with each other. They are not. Yeah, it's up to $100, and I'm gonna sell a copy in the next couple of days, and I feel weird selling it for that much. So I don't know. It's weird to me. So, and what I've started doing now is anyone who spends $90 or more for a copy, I'm mailing them a present, because I'm like, you're overpaying for this. It's the least I can do. Okay, it's 10:30. I am definitely now $40. See, no. As a book collector, library copies are not collectible. It's cheating. It's not acceptable. It's even if I have all the Danny Dunn books, and it took me forever to get ones that weren't ex-library copies, but I did it. So that is where we are. Okay, I am going to bounce now. I will see you all soon. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks again for the book. I'm sure it's going to be awful. Actually, let me look through the back if there's anything in the back that's interesting, like ads. Sometimes they have cool ads. It's 252 pages. It's big font, too, so it's going to be a short read. Oh, let me read you the description. This is interesting. Instead of it being on the dust jacket, there's like a blurb in the book describing the book. The Intern. A young medical graduate is on his way to start his career at a big public hospital. He is proud of his title as doctor. He is full of intense idealism. ... 3 months later, he is broke and cynical. He has succumbed to a petty liquor racket. He has become entangled in love affairs with a nurse, and a patient is drinking heavily to steady his nerves and is on the point of joining the shadiest racket in the profession. Only a fine woman's courage and love saves him, and this regeneration is even more remarkable than his swift decline. In telling Carl Armstrong's amazing story, the authors of The Intern reveal an appalling situation. Firetrap Hospital. Oh, they reprinted it, Jeremy, in Spain, Ego and Hubris, in like 2010. It was very weird. I had to find out about it. I did an episode about it on Nightshade. The Intern reveals an appalling situation, and it's paperback. Firetrap hospital buildings, insanitary wards, lack of men and equipment, administration riddled with politics, interns hardened to callousness, living a reckless life of drinking, gambling, and woman chasing, and launched on racketeering careers. These revelations are based on actual facts in italics. The Intern is certain to become one of the most talked about novels of our time. It is a story of smashing power, throbbing with human emotions. It will startle you and thrill you to the core. So that's going to be interesting to read. That's probably going to be terrible. But I will treasure this book for the rest of my life. And I love the pictorial spine. I love shit like that. It's really cool. All right, folks. I keep trying to bounce, and you keep having questions. But now I really am going to bounce. And go watch. Oh, you know what I'm watching now that I'm enjoying? Is, and I'll tell you guys when I'm done. Okay. I'll see you all. Oh, what's this? Price drop. Oh, it's still too much. Okay. I will see you all soon. Hope you all had fun. Bye-bye.